fear purpose is the man who takes the longest route home to avoid having the hard conversation with his wife. I'm sure some of you all can relate to that. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Man Solution podcast. Our goal here is to help men solve themselves. I'm your host, Anthony Miranda, aka Man of Men. So on this podcast, we talk about a lot of issues and challenges that men face today. And the goal here is to really get men to learn specific tools and tips and philosophies that will help them get out of their own way. If you're anything like me, you probably had a hard time developing into a man, or you're probably in that phase now where you're trying to find answers on how to actually get out of your own way and improve yourself and become a better man and learn to mature in a healthy way and drop bad habits and recreate yourself. If that's you, this podcast is for you. And I hope to build and continue to build a community around what we're doing here. So all I ask of you guys is, if you do find value in anything that you hear on this podcast, just share it with someone. Just share it with one person and say, hey, just listen to this podcast, found this really valuable, thought you'd find this pretty helpful, or thought you'd find this insightful, or check this out, thought this was cool, give it a listen. Just share it. If you really want to be helpful, leave a review. That looks super great on the show, on the podcast, on us, and what it does to the platform is it, of course, makes the platforms push out our episodes in front of more people. So if you find value, share it. If you're on YouTube, like it, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. You can find this anywhere you listen to your podcast. So, I appreciate the support thus far. Now let's dive into it now that we covered some logistical things. On this episode, we'll be discussing the fear of purpose, and really how it holds men back from really achieving significant things in their lives. So first, I want to touch on, of course, what purpose is and why it's even important for men. And then I want to talk about why most men are afraid of their purpose. And then we'll wrap up by discussing a few different ways to ensure that fear doesn't take a hold of you and cause you to limit yourself in your growth. So let's start at the top, right? What is purpose? The actual definition is purpose refers to the reason or intention behind an action or decision. It is the desired outcome or goal that one hopes to achieve through their actions, right? I love that last sentence. It is the desired outcome or goal that one hopes to achieve through their actions. Your purpose can be anything from ending world hunger to being a better father than your father was, or like we're doing here, helping men solve themselves. So the reason purpose is important for a man is because it gives you direction and meaning in life. It helps you focus your energy on something that you value, something you believe in. And this thing that you focus on is going to lead to an increase in motivation, an increase in satisfaction and fulfillment in your life. You see, for most men, without purpose, and I can attest to this, you feel lost. You feel aimless. You feel unfulfilled, like there's something missing. Now, I know we've all heard someone say that, an idle mind is a devil's playground. right? So men who don't have some sort of direction in their life, they're not doing something worth attaining. What does that mean? That means they have one important thing: time, and lots of it. So, with all this free time and no direction to head in, well, you're left with a void. And that void needs filling, right? Some men choose to fill that void with alcohol, drugs, women, partying, or video games, right? For some, it's all of the above. So whatever it is, because you haven't filled your life with productive actions that are conducive to your growth and the betterment of society, you've left space for things that aren't. Right? So having a clear sense of purpose can help men make decisions, and it's going to help you prioritize your time and resources more effectively. So understand that where the fear comes in, it's a very unique situation. It's unique for every single man, but it affects all men objectively in a very similar way. I'm sure you're asking, like, fear of purpose? Like, what do you mean? Like, why would I be scared of doing something that, that makes me better? It only makes sense that if men's lives are better when they're on their purpose, then most men are doing that, right? It just makes sense. Well, wrong. I think what we see today, and I'm sure you all can attest to it, men today are afraid of living a life that's in alignment with their purpose, right? It's scary. It's scary to set your sights on a target and have to take action to get there, right? Because here's the thing, you have to face challenges and failure. And all your flaws get highlighted very brightly to you and everyone around you on this journey, right? You have to be disciplined. You have to be focused. You have to be driven. So why would a man want to do that? I mean, it's so much easier to just remain a failure. It's so much easier to just continue to slack off and fall victim to your vices. At least then you know where you stand, right? And everyone around you knows where you stand as well. Everyone then knows that you're incapable, right? You don't want to have to put yourself out there and possibly fail, because then what happens? What happens if you fail? And what if you prove to yourself and everyone around you that you are truly worthless? You don't want to try and then fail and then have that failure be the validation that you're not worthy. So when you think about fear of purpose, like fear of purpose is the man who comes home from work and goes straight to his man cave as his wife deals with the kids. Fear of purpose is the man who hides in his garage, maybe smoking weed or drinking alcohol to avoid the reality that he has nothing to offer to his family. Fear of purpose is the man who takes the longest route home to avoid having the hard conversation with his wife. I'm sure some of you all can relate to that. Now, understand that this mindset of being fearful of purpose, of doing something challenging, it comes from a low self-esteem. And low self-esteem comes from multiple places, but some of it was probably from your childhood and due to the fact that you may not have had people pour into you and speak life into you as a child and tell you that you're worthy, tell you that you're powerful, that you can do anything you set your mind to. Right? Some people just aren't fortunate enough to be raised in an environment like that. Some people, unfortunately, are talked down upon. Some people, unfortunately, as children, are told that they're worthless. You'll never amount to anything. I wish I never had you. What do you think that's going to do to a child as they grow up? It's going to develop a low self-esteem. I'm not worthy. I'll never amount to anything. I shouldn't even be here. Right? So as young boys, if we're hearing that stuff and we start becoming older, we get into our teenage years and we're trying to find ourselves in society, right? We're going through all these different changes, these hormonal changes. We never adopt the right outlook on life that's going to set us up for success. We just adopt the belief, the subconscious beliefs that we are not worth it. We are not worth the effort. We are not worth trying. So it's easier to just take the long route home. It's easier to just sit in the garage and hide. It's easier to numb myself with alcohol, with drugs, with porn, whatever it is, whatever your vice is. For most men today, it's easier. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Because I think it's very evident that taking the easier route is usually not the route that gets me in a better position. It's usually the hard route. It's usually the thing I don't want to do that's actually the right thing to do for me. The thing that's hard, the thing that's scary, the thing that seems the most challenging, that's where your time and energy should be. You should head straight into challenge. As embarrassing as it is, as much as you're going to fail, as stupid as it's going to make you feel, you should head right into challenge because that's the route that's going to make you better. And that leads me to the other point that affects your low self-esteem, which is really just a lack of action. Your lack of action breeds incompetence. Your incompetence breeds a lack of confidence. And your lack of confidence begins to lower your self-esteem because as a man, your sense of self-worth is largely tied to your capacity to produce when necessary. So your competence. If you are not competent in a skill, at your work, in whatever it is. I heard I forgot the guy's name. I was listening to a podcast and the gentleman was asked, what is the definition of a man? And he basically said that as soon as you start to define what it means to be a man, you essentially lose the power of what it means to be a man because you put that man in a box. If the man is solely meant to provide, if he's just a provider, well, then that's how he sees himself. He's just a provider. And he doesn't get to be the lover that truly loves his wife. He doesn't get to be the leader that leads his children and his society in the right direction. So he misses out on so many other aspects because he's just focused on being the provider. And he gets convinced that as long as I'm making the money and paying the bills, well, I'm doing my job. But understandably, what it really means to be a man, if we're going to define it, is anything and everything you need to be at any moment. That's the challenge. You should be anything and everything you need to be at any moment. And what that ties to is your capacity, your competence. People need to know that they can rely on you when they need to, for whatever it is. If I need a shoulder to cry on, your family, or if someone needs a shoulder to cry on, they need to know that your shoulder's there. If they need some help moving, we need to know that you're there. If we need help financially, we need to know that you're there. If everyone's freaking out and frantic about, let's say you had a family emergency happen in the family, everyone's looking at you to make sure that you can take care of it, that you can lead us in the right direction, that you can make the right decisions and stay stoic and stay calm, even in the midst of all this angst and terror and confusion. We need to look at you, man, as the leader. Right now, man, you need to be anything and everything you can be for all of us. That's the challenge of being a man. So The solution here is quite simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Just take action. Your action will then breed competence, and your new competence will then breed confidence. And as you build your confidence, now you move throughout the world differently. You start to feel better about yourself as a man. You start to believe that you're actually worth it, that you're actually powerful, and you can actually accomplish anything you set your mind to. Because you're realizing you're becoming competent. And because you're competent, you know you bring more value to the world. I'm actually a good investment. I feel good about myself. Now just imagine what your life would look like had you actually had something that you were aiming for. Imagine what your life would look like had you been practicing discipline and focus and building the skill sets required to actualize your purpose. What would that look like? What would need to be true in order for you to be that man? What would you need to change today? Who would you need to become? What's the first action you need to take? Think about it. Now go do that. Go do it. Now, picture a world with men who are all vindicated in their purpose, driven by their desire to accomplish something meaningful today. Just imagine how much better of a society we'd live in. Rather than the society filled with fearful, immature boys that fall victims to their vices and take the long way home and sit in the garage finishing the bottle of alcohol they had left over. Instead of a world and a society filled with those boys, we have a society filled with disciplined men that are strong, they're capable, they're competent. You can rely on them. They're stoic, they're mature, and they actually have more to add to your life. They have value that they can pour out of their cup and give onto you. They can give onto their family, to their friends, to their community. They actually have something to give because they've been doing something worthwhile. They've been doing something that's hard. Go fail. Go do something hard. Go challenge yourself. Do something that's uncomfortable. Do something that's going to embarrass you. Go fail so you can learn. And this journey to actualize your purpose, it's going to unlock a better version of you. And if you just stay committed to your vision, stay committed to your purpose. If you do that for a year, you're going to look back at your life and you're going to be a completely different person. In 2018, that was really when I started getting my own shit together. Right around the middle of 2018, around summertime, I stopped going out as much as I used to. I stopped drinking as much as I used to. I stayed to myself a lot more. I started reading books and listening to podcasts instead of watching World Star Hip Hop and trying to figure out what's the newest rap song that just came out and who dropped the album. And a year later, in 2019, I look back a year and I couldn't even recognize myself. And that was in just a year. Everything about me was different. The way I carried myself, the way I spoke, the people I hung around with, my daily habits, my fitness level. Funny enough, I felt younger because I wasn't drinking and spending my Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays out being a fucking clown. I had developed a better version of me. And that was in just a year. But what's crazy is that when you have your head down day to day and you're just doing what's in front of you, when I'm just reading this book, these 10 pages of a book every day, when I'm getting my 8 hours of sleep every day, when I'm staying away from the alcohol and I'm staying away from the negative, toxic people who don't want you doing what's best for you. They just want to have fun and party and fall victim to their vices because we're only young once. When you remove all that shit from your life and you're just zoned in day to day, you don't really see a difference. You don't really see a difference because you're just so locked in. Even a month into it, even 3 months into it, you don't see the difference because you're just locked in, you have your head down, and you're not really looking up to really assess how different things are. When you look back a year, you will be astonished. You will be astonished. And here's the thing. When I realized after that year how much progress I made in just that year, I had two thoughts that came to mind. One was, holy shit, imagine if I started getting my shit together sooner. Imagine how much farther ahead I'd be right now. Imagine if I can do that in a year. Imagine if I had the foundation to ensure that I had these habits in place as a child. Imagine if I had started this journey as a teenager. Where would I be? That's an interesting fucking question. The second question I ask myself is, okay, well, that's the past and I can't control that, so let it go because it doesn't matter. Instead, a better question is, with all the time you have left on this world, just imagine who you're going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Imagine how much better of a man you will be now that you are committed to your purpose. Because this shit just compounds. It's like interest. It compounds. You get better and better and better if you're doing the right things. If you're staying disciplined and you're learning from your mistakes and you're holding yourself accountable and you're continuing to put the right things in front of you, whether it's people, books, podcasts, you fucking name it. If you're doing the right things, you will compound your growth and continue to unlock better and better versions of you. But that only happens if you're living a life that is purpose driven. I want you all to really digest everything I'm saying because these are conversations that I think usually a father would have with his son. I never got that. I'm pretty sure a good amount of you didn't get that either. I'm pretty sure for a good amount of you, your father was probably the father that was in the garage drinking the alcohol, taking the long way home in his man cave. I'm pretty sure that was a lot of your fathers because that was mine. So really digest what I'm saying. Understand the value of purpose. Understand that it's natural. It's going to be natural to be fearful of living that purpose. But understand that fear is a lie. Fear is a lie. We'll wrap there. that's all I have today. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. As I mentioned earlier, if you like it, share it with someone you think that would find value. Give it a like, leave a review. It helps tremendously, and I really greatly appreciate it. And if you found value in this, let me know. Hit me up. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. If you think I'm talking on my ass, let me know, because that's a possibility. So, really hope you like this episode. I will see you all next time. Take care, guys.